Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Thanks for joining us for our fifth session of the Hand Dexterity Exercise class. Today is our final class. As always, the class will be recorded and will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel a couple days from now. And I believe the previous week's recording has already been uploaded. So if you wanted to review any of the previous course content, you're welcome to do so on our YouTube channel, which you can find by going to YouTube and searching Parkinson Society BC, all in one word. That's our YouTube channel name, and it will come up. And under the playlist of Hand Dexterity Exercise Series, you will see our class recordings from this series, but also from our previous Hand Dexterity Exercise class series as well. Okay, so today you will be needing a tea towel, just like last time. So something small, ideally not a big bath towel, right? Something small. Tea towel. I've got a cushion here, just something I grabbed from my couch. So something small again, if possible. And you're also going to be needing some kind of a pen, pencil, and your handwriting worksheet today, which last time we mentioned. You can see that I've got, so I basically just use normal line pieces of paper. And today we are doing 2 lines. So you can see 1, 2, I've got 2 rows that I formed into one giant row. So our row today that we're working with is going to be two standard small rows into one large row, whereas last time we did 3. So our session last time, if I can find it, we did the handwriting practice with 3 lines. Now here it is. So this is what we had last time. We had 1, 2, 3 lines as one giant line. Today we're only doing 2. So you can probably guess the theme. We're making it smaller and smaller as time goes on. But of course, because today's our last class, I will tell you a little bit more about how you can progress this outside of the class as well. Okay, I think we might have a few new folks joining us today, even though it's our last class. If you are new to our session today, not to worry, follow along to the best of your abilities. If anything is feeling a little too challenging, you can always have a look at our previous class recordings and work on some of those skills and try this class again if you find it's a little bit too challenging. But remember, as with any other exercise classes, the more you practice, the better it gets and the easier things are going to feel. Okay, if you have any questions as we go along in the class today, you are welcome to type in the chat box. Or equally, if you prefer not to type and you want to ask me a question verbally, you're welcome to raise your hand, and at which point I can unmute your microphone and you're welcome to ask the question via voice if you prefer that over typing. Okay, I think a couple of people trickled in as I was talking there. If you just came in, you're going to be needing your tea towel, your cushion, and your paper for writing today, in which case we are using 2 rows as one giant row. Okay, should we get started? Let me tip my screen down a little bit. I do apologize if the room is seeming extra echoey today. I couldn't get my headphone microphone to work for some reason. So hopefully you can still hear me okay. It might sound a little echoey. Okay, so we're sitting nice and tall in our chairs, making sure we're not leaning back into our chair. So from the side, you can see that I've got a nice gap between myself and the chair. So I'm not doing this for the whole class, right? We're sitting up nice and tall. And we're going to start by rolling those shoulders back. Ideally, you want to not be in a wheelie chair like I am, but this is a chair I'm using in this room, so you can pretend that it's not a wheelchair and it's nice and sturdy. Rolling the shoulders back. Sitting up nice and tall as we're doing this. So we're not doing this as we're rolling the shoulders, but we're staying nice and tall, elongating the spine. And then we're going to add in our elbows for these circles. Imagine drawing big circles with your elbows, the tips of your elbows. Still sitting up nice and tall. Nicely done. And then the entire arm is going to circle. Now, if you have a bit of shoulder issues, shoulder pain, or you just don't feel like it's very comfortable for you to go all the way up, you're welcome to make the circles smaller if you like, but I still want you to try to make it as big as you possibly feel comfortable doing. Nicely done. Let's do 3 more. 2, 1, rest the arms. Take your hand, you're gonna reach to the outside of your opposite knee. Then the other hand's gonna reach around and grab hold of your chair. Using your arms, you're gonna twist yourself around to look at the back wall. And as we're doing this rotation stretch here, we're really thinking about elongating the spine. So don't let yourself get shorter in the stretch. And then relax, same to the other side. Take your hand, grab hold of the opposite knee, then the other hand's gonna wrap around the back of the chair. Using your arms, you're going to pull yourself around into this rotation stretch, trying to elongate the spine. Don't let yourself get shorter. Back to the middle, we're gonna do 1 more on either side. So same thing, grab hold of the outside of your knee, other hand wrapping around the back of the chair. Twist yourself around by using your arms to pull yourself in that rotation stretch, growing taller every time. Other side, take your hand, grab the outside of your opposite knee, other hand wraps around the back of the chair, twisting yourself around, growing taller if you can. And rest. I'm just gonna come forward a little bit. Okay, now you're gonna shuffle your bottom back in the chair. So you're gonna touch the back of your chair now. And you're gonna lift your arms up. Whoops, lift your arms up. Bring it behind your head. Open those elbows, so don't let them point forward. Open the elbow, open the chest. And then you're gonna lean back up and over the chair. So you should really feel a nice back stretch here as you're leaning up and over the chair, looking up at the ceiling, opening the chest. And relax for a second. Drop the arms. We're gonna do that again. Bring your arms up behind the head. Remember, you wanna be touching the back of your chair. Opening the elbows out to the side, opening the chest. And you're gonna lean up and over the chair. Just be careful here that your chair is not tipping too far back. You don't want anyone to fall, but you wanna be leaning up and over the back of the chair, looking at the ceiling. Hold the stretch here. And relax. We're going to now shuffle forwards again. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see me. So you can see I'm shuffled forward in my chair again. There's a gap behind my back, between my back and the chair. I'm going to hinge forward at my hips a little bit. So you can see my spine is long, so I'm hinging forward. I'm not doing this, but I'm keeping my spine long and I'm hinging forward just a little bit on an incline. And then you're going to bring your arms up into the letter Y shape. So you can see my thumbs are facing back. If I come forward, you can see my arms are in a Y shape. Can you see that? The letter Y. But I'm not bringing my arms in front. I'm bringing them behind the ears. From here, I'm going to pull my arms back, leading with the elbow into a W shape, into the letter W. So you can see the letter W. Yeah, but behind my ears if I can, and then bring them right back up to a Y shape behind the ears if you can, and then back down to a W shape. You should feel this in your upper back and your middle of your back as well. So remember, you're trying to hinge forward a little bit. Nicely done. I'm going to do a few here. Trying to keep the arms behind the ears if you can. I know this one's a little tough, but this is a really good one for anyone who is used to being in a hunched over position, it's really great to be able to use those back muscles to pull the shoulder blades back a little bit more. Let's do 3 more in your own time. Think about the letter Y to the letter W, keeping your arms behind your ears at all times if you can. 1 more. And relax the arm. I'm going to move forward again. We're now going to bring one arm forward like so, and we're going to just do some sensory loading here. Take your other hand, start at the top of the shoulder, and we're going to squeeze all the way down the length of the arm. Think of this like a little massage for yourself. Not forgetting about the fingertips, the palm, the thumb, all the way back up. Just waking up those nerve endings a little bit before we get going. Squeezing all the way down to the hand, the fingertips, the thumb, and all the way back up. And then once you've done that, we're going to switch to the other side. Same thing, start at the shoulder, and you're squeezing down the length of the arm. Doesn't have to be fast. It's not really about speed here. We're just waking up the nerve endings. Trying to get every portion of the arm if you can, including the thumb, the fingers, the palm, all the way back up. This is a nice part of the class. All the way back up. We're going to switch again in a moment. And switch, other hand. This time we're patting down the length of the arm. So you're doing little taps and you're going all the way to the fingertips, the hand. We're doing the back of the arm at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. If you've got the other side, that's okay as well. We're going to do both sides anyway, but wherever you are, you're going to stick to one side for the moment. And then we're going to flip the arm over, same thing on the other side of the arm, tapping down the length of your arm, just being a bit gentle here. We're not smacking the arm, but we're tapping lightly. Bombarding the nerve endings here with some signals. And we're going to drop the arm and switch to the other side. Same thing, start at the shoulder, tapping down the length of the arm. Remember, nice light taps. Doesn't have to be fast. You're just trying to tap every portion of the arm if you can, not forgetting about the hand, the fingers. And then you're going to flip your arm over to the other side, whatever side that you're not doing or that you weren't doing before. You're just flipping the arm over, and then you're tapping down the length of the arm as well. Not forgetting about the hand, the fingertips, the thumb even, and all the way back up. And then you're going to drop the arms, clasp the hands together, and we're going to draw some big figures of 8 with our wrists. Just warming up the wrists, get some rotation in the forearms here. Bending the elbow, of course, so if you're like this, it might feel a little bit different of a movement. Loosening the wrist, drawing big figures of 8. Yes, it's okay to rest your arm on a table, absolutely fine. Great question. And rest. Okay, so we're gonna do a few finger and hand warm-ups before we get into some of the main parts of the class. If you are new today, don't worry if some of these parts feel a little bit challenging. Just follow along to the best of your abilities. Sorry, I'm just moving my screen, hopefully not making you dizzy. Okay, so I've got a table here, by the way. So you can see I've got a table. So I tend to rest my elbows on the table during the class because otherwise you're holding up your arms for the entire hour. But of course, if you've got armrests and you want to put your arms down on the armrest instead of a table, that's okay as well. Or if you don't have anything to rest your arm on, that's okay as well. But just a little bit of tips and tricks, it might be a good idea to put your arms down or your elbows down on a surface to rest them. Okay, first exercise we're going to do just to warm up the hand and fingers. We're going to open both of our hands, spread open the fingers, really make sure each of those spaces between your fingers are nice and wide. So we're not, bringing the fingers close together. We're not bending the fingers. We're opening them, reaching them out, filling up as much space as you can. Then from here, we're going to touch the tip of our index finger to our thumb without the other fingers curling down. So this is our finger opposition drill that we're starting with today, just to warm up, and then we'll add on. And then same thing for the next finger. You're doing middle finger to thumb without any of the other fingers curling down or tucking in. You want to keep them wide. Don't let the fingers touch. Open the fingers, separate those spaces. And then your ring finger to your thumb. And then the little finger to the thumb, opening the spaces between the fingers. And then same thing again from the beginning. Index finger to thumb, then middle finger, then ring finger, then little finger in your own time. But really make sure you're doing this with good technique. You're trying to stretch the fingers out, opening those spaces between the fingers, making sure the thumb is also pointing outward, because we're going to add on to this in a moment. So we want to make sure we're really good with this technique here. And of course, when you finish all the fingers to the little finger, you're welcome to reverse it as well. Little finger to thumb. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter. We're just warming up the fingers here. Really spread out those fingers as much as you can. Spreading the palm nice and wide. Almost like you're trying to get rid of all of those kind of lines you've got on the palm that everyone does, and it's impossible to get rid of. But imagine you're trying to stretch your fingers so far out that you no longer have these lines on your fingers and your palm. That's the idea you're going for here. As much stretch as you can, spreading the hand out as wide as you can. We're just going to do one more set wherever you are. And then we're going to move on to our next warm-up exercise before we put these movements together. So if you've been here the entire series and this is feeling really easy, don't worry, the challenge is coming. Okay, whenever you're done, just shake out your hand a little bit. Our second warm-up is going to be the fingers together like so. So imagine you're pressing your hand onto a window of a shop or I don't know, onto a door, a wall, whatever surface you've got, and you're pressing your hand there so it's nice and flat. So you can see here that from the side, my palm is nice and flat. My fingers are flat. I'm not curving the thumb in. The fingers aren't kind of caving in. I'm keeping everything as flat as I can, like I'm pressing it against the surface. All the fingers are squeezing together nice and long. From here, keeping the fingers long, you're opening the first space, like so, and then bringing that space together again. Then you're moving the second space. So all your fingers are squeezing. So you can see none of my fingers are opening. They're all squeezing together except for the space that I actually want to open. Then the next space over, keeping the fingers long. Don't let the thumbs curl in. Keep the fingers squeezing together. And then the last space opening. So really look from your right hand to your left hand and vice versa. And you're trying to get both sides even. It's likely that you'll probably find one side is harder than the other, and that's okay. We're just wanting to notice the symmetry here and trying to get both sides to match as much as we can. And as we're doing this warm-up exercise here, you're trying to get those fingers to touch. You're trying to get them to basically be glued together unless you're selectively opening that web space. How are we doing on this one? I know this one's a little tough. Try to make sure the hand's not curving in. Remember, we're keeping it flat, almost like it's against a window. If you're having real issues with this one, keep going. You can always place your hand on a flat surface, either on a table or on a window, and do the same movement, sliding along the surface, which sometimes people find easier because you've got the support here. Oh, there's the car alarm going off outside. Hopefully you can't hear that. Okay, so you can slide it against a surface if that's easier. But of course, having a free hand is going to be more challenging. So if you can do it this way, I would encourage you to try it this way. It doesn't have to be fast. Feel free to go slow. Okay, wherever you are, do one more set. So one more round from the thumb all the way to the pinky and vice versa. And then we're going to move on. So this exercise and the last one we did with the thumb and finger opposition, we're going to build on these two. For those who have taken our previous hand and dexterity class, you might be getting some PTSD from this, from the next one we're getting, but we'll see. And relax, shake out the hand for a second. Okay, so challenge that we're doing here is we are going to do that same movement. So remember the first exercise we had this one where our fingers are nice and wide, but where I'm touching the tips of the fingers to the thumb. And then our last one that we did was opposite to that. We're squeezing the fingers together, but still keeping them long, and we're opening each of those spaces. So now we're going to put both of them together. One hand is going to be doing the finger opposition, keeping the hand and fingers wide open. And then the other hand is going to be doing the fingers together, but the opening of the web spaces in between. So you're doing them both together, and this is what it looks like. So you can choose which one you want to start with because we're going to switch as well. So this is what it looks like. One hand, I'm touching the tip of the fingers together. The other one, I'm opening that web space. So really got to concentrate on the two different cognitive sets you're doing here. Making sure you got good quality. So the hand that's doing the opposition, your fingers are wide open and you're touching the tip of the finger to the thumb while keeping all the other fingers straight. Whereas the other hand, you're only opening the web spaces. All the other fingers are squeezing in, and we're not curving the hand in any way. You're imagining that shop window you're pressing the hand against. So join me here if you haven't already. And once you've done the index finger all the way to the little finger and back again, you're going to then switch the hands. So now you're doing, this other hand is now doing the opposition, and the other hand is now doing the opening of the web spaces. Hopefully that makes sense. So every time you finish a set, you're switching the hands. You're switching the jobs you've given each hand. You'll probably find one side is going to feel a little bit more challenging. For me, it's the opposition with the right hand and the finger straight web space squeezing with the left hand. For some reason, this side is always a little bit more challenging for me. But regardless of what side you find challenging, you are trying to make sure you're maintaining the quality of the movement as much as you can. So don't do this super fast. Feel free to do this slow so you can really get your head around the task here, because it is a little bit more of a thinking skill task as well. Check in with yourself. Are your fingers now doing the same thing on both sides, or are you still distinctively doing different tasks with either hand? I think a lot of the time we end up merging both of the hands into almost the same task. So we're all kind of like this. So just make sure you're checking in with yourself every now and then. And make sure you switch hands as well. The hand that's doing the finger to thumb opposition tapping, you're making sure the hand is wide open. Whereas the other hand is the opposite. You're squeezing the fingers together, keeping them long. Oops, I messed up there. I forgot to reverse. How do we feel about this one? Do we hate this one? This one is pretty challenging. But as you get better at this exercise, believe it or not, you can do it faster. And sometimes when you're doing it faster as well, if you're finding that that's getting easy, you can also add in a dual task challenge, which if you don't know what that is, we are going to try a dual task challenge, not with this exercise today, but in a moment with a different exercise. So you'll see what I mean about adding in an extra cognitive layer to these tasks. If your hand is starting to feel quite sore and you need to shake it out, feel free to do so. We're going to stay here with this exercise for another couple of rounds. So you've got time to shake out your hand if you like to. If you're practicing this movement at home, sometimes it's easier to do it in front of a mirror as well, like in your bathroom, or if you just have a mirror on a counter somewhere. But of course, looking at your hands, that's fine as well. But sometimes having a mirror in front of you might be a little bit easier. If you've got this movement down, you're welcome to try to speed it up if you like. You don't have to. But you're maintaining that same quality as you speed up the movement. But of course, you're welcome to do this slow. You don't have to speed it up. And if you are trying to speed it up and you find that your fingers are now starting to do this, slow it down again. Ooh, lots of sirens going on outside. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully you can't hear that. It's very loud. Check in with yourself. Are you still doing the right posturing for each hand, or are we starting to merge the two movements? Wherever you are, you're going to do one more set. So from the index all the way to the little finger, and then back again, and then we're going to stop and shake it out. And whenever you're done, you can open and close your fist a couple of times, shake out your hand, and then we're going to grab hold of our tea towel for the next one. Okay. So with our tea towel, so I've got a rectangular shaped tea towel. So some of you might have a square one or maybe a slightly longer one. It doesn't really matter what the shape is. But ideally you want the fabric to be thin-ish. So you don't want it to be thick like a bath towel because you won't be able to get very far with this exercise. So you are going to, I'm going to move back a little bit, hold on to the corner of the tea towel with one hand. And when you're holding onto the corner, you're going to be holding it so that your fingers are facing downward. So you can see from the side, I'm holding it such that the towel is dangling downwards. My fingers are pointing down as well. So I'm not holding it like this, but I'm holding it downwards. Keeping your hand in this orientation, you're going to use your fingers and you're going to scrunch up the towel into a ball in your fist, as small as you can, noticing how the orientation of my hand doesn't change. So I'm not, let me do that again. So I'm not going like this, right? I'm exaggerating. I'm sure you're not doing it like that, but you want to keep your fingers facing down and try not to change the orientation of your hand. And you're going to use your fingers, all your fingers, not just one or two, but all of them, to scrunch up the towel into your fist. So you can tell that this is why having a small-ish and thin-ish towel is better than a big bath towel. Then once you can't scrunch up anymore, you're going to throw and catch with the other hand. When you catch, you're catching downward, not sideways, not upwards, catching downwards, almost like you've tossed it. And then as the fabric is falling down to the ground, you're speeding up that downward motion even more. You catch it with the other hand. Then with that hand, you're going to find the corner, shake out the towel, and you're going to restart again, scrunching up that fabric with the hand. We're going to do this a few times before we add in the dual task challenge. When you can't scrunch up anymore, toss, catch, find the corner without the help from the other hand. And then you start again scrunching up the towel here. So you don't have to go very fast for this. The idea of the scrunch is you're trying to use all the fingers, because sometimes we get a bit stuck and we have only one finger moving like this. But we want to make sure all of our fingers are getting involved and none of our fingers are getting stuck. So just do this a few times on your own before we add in the challenge of the dual task. And again, for this exercise, you'll probably find one side is going to feel a little stiffer, a little slower than the other side, and that's okay. We're going to notice the difference, but we're going to try, as we're doing this movement, to just emphasize a little bit more on that stiffer and slower side and see if you can slow it down even more so that you can really get those fingers around that fabric. So all the fingers, not just two or one of the fingers, but all of the fingers. Now on the next one that you do, we're going to start with a dual task challenge. So what you're going to do is, as you're doing this movement, so exactly the same motor task we're doing now, we're not changing the movement stays the same. But as you're doing the movement, I want you to name out loud as many fruits and vegetables you can think of, starting from the letter A down the alphabet. Okay, so you go from A, B, C, D, all the way down to Z. So as an example, fruits and vegetables, if we start with A, you might say avocado, bananas, cranberries, and so on down the alphabet, okay? So in your own time, try that now. You're going to continue on with the motor task, the physical task of scrunching up the fabric while tossing and catching, but at the same time, you're going to say out loud as many fruits and vegetables as you can think of, starting from the letter A all the way down the alphabet to Z, okay? So I'm gonna not talk for the next couple minutes, so you can really concentrate on the task. Here we go. Remember to keep the hand moving as you're doing your cognitive task, as you're naming those fruits and vegetables down the alphabet. Don't let your hand freeze as you're thinking. So we're not doing this as we're thinking, but we're going to keep the hand moving. A few more minutes. Last minute. Question is, can you think of a fruit or vegetable beginning with a J? I can. It's, I'm thinking about a fruit that is often replaced as a vegetarian or vegan substitute in tacos. It's very specific, it doesn't have to be tacos. And the first part of the fruit name also sounds like a boy name. Last 10 seconds. And rest. Okay, you can put your towels away. So the fruit that I was thinking about, starting with the letter J, is a jackfruit. I don't know if you've had it before, but it's meant to mimic kind of like the pulled pork consistency, but it's a fruit. So they often use it in certain cuisine to have a vegan or vegetarian substitute. Okay, our next one, we are going to grab hold of a cushion. So the little cushion that I showed you at the beginning. Let me bring this down a little bit. Okay, so we are now going to hold on to the bottom of the cushion with long fingers. So like this, kind of like a crab pincer. You want the fingers to be long. So all the fingers are long, the thumbs as well. So I'm holding on to the cushion. So you can see my thumb is long, my fingers are long, okay? I'm holding on to the bottom of the cushion like so. And essentially what you're gonna do is, I just hold this for a second. So pretend I'm not holding the pillow with my chin, but I'm just showing you here. So you're holding here, you're gonna open the hand so that the pillow drops down and you're gonna catch it at the top, okay? And then same thing, reversing, you're going to open the hands on both sides, toss the cushion up and catch at the bottom. And as you catch, you wanna keep your fingers long and your thumbs long. Yeah, so you don't want to be doing this. We don't want to be doing this kind of gripping movement. You want the fingers to be like this. So this kind of a pincer grip. So we're holding the bottom and then we're going to catch the top and then reverse it, tossing it up vertically so it doesn't flip and catching it at the bottom like so. So do this a few times. We're also going to be adding in a dual task challenge with this one. But do this movement a few times first, just to get yourself used to it before I tell you what our dual task challenge is going to be. It's the last class, I gotta bring out all the stops. So remember, as you're doing this movement, you're trying to maintain that pincer grip. Don't let your hand open and your fingers curl in like this. We're not squeezing the cushion. We're keeping those fingers nice and long. I missed that cushion there. Whoops. Okay, now that you've got the movement, we're going to add in a dual task challenge. This time, as you're doing this movement, you're going to name out loud as many animals as you can think of, starting from the letter Z back up the alphabet to A, if that makes sense. So you're going Z, Y, X, and so on, and so on, and so on, all the way back up to A. So you're doing the alphabet, but we're doing it in reverse this time. You're naming as many animals as you can think of out loud from the letter Z back up to A. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet for the next couple minutes again to let you concentrate. Make sure as you're doing the dual task challenge, you are not letting your hand go and thinking about the animals and not moving. We're going to make sure we're maintaining the motor task as we are doing the cognitive task. Don't let your hand do this. Keep them long, okay? Off we go. Don't forget to keep those hands moving. As you're thinking, keep moving. Keep those fingers long. How are we doing? Hopefully you're keeping those hands moving as you're thinking about the cognitive task. Got a few more minutes. Keep those fingers long. Give you another minute here. Okay, and rest. Okay, shake out your hand. Okay, we are going to do one more task with the pillow, and then we're going to practice our handwriting. So what we're going to do here is I'm holding the pillow in a horizontal position, so it's nice and flat, and I'm still kind of using that pincer grip that we did a moment ago. I'm putting my thumb at the top, and then my other fingers are at the bottom of the cushion. So I'm holding it like this. And what I'm going to do here, using my forearms, so my elbows, I'm going to try to keep them down a little bit. So not too high up, just a little bit down. We're going to use our hand to turn the cushion towards you once and catch it the same way. So if I go on an angle, maybe let me do this way. Thing is, see my thumbs are up and then my fingers are at the bottom. I'm still using that pincer grip, and I'm tossing it towards me once, and I'm catching it in that same position. Can you see that? I'm catching it like that. Okay. So you are going to do this movement, turning it towards you 5 times. So you're flipping it 5 times like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After you've done 5, you're going to flip it over so that your fingers are now on top and your thumbs at the bottom, and you're now turning away from you 5 times like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flip it over towards you again 5 times. Okay, after you've done 5, flipping it away from you with the fingers up 5 times. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that movement. So join me here. Just start with the movement first, and then I will add in the dual task component. It's going to be a little tougher because you're already counting the number of times that you're flipping the cushion in each direction. You're flipping it 5 times in each direction. And then we're going to add in a dual task on top. So I'll give you a few minutes just to do, or not a few minutes, I'll give you 1 minute to do this motor task first, just to get used to the flipping of the cushion. And then I will tell you what we are doing for our dual task. I've lost count. Too busy talking. So when you're flipping the cushion away from you, the fingers are at the top. And when you're flipping it towards yourself, the thumb is on top every time you catch. Fingers on top every time you catch when you're turning the cushion away from you. Okay, keep going. Now, as you're doing this task, I am going to add in a dual task challenge. You are going to count out loud from 100 backwards in 7s. Okay, so you're starting with the number 100 and you're counting backwards in 7. So you want to go from 100 all the way down to 0, but in 7s. So from 100, the next number would be 93 because you're counting backwards in 7s, if that makes sense. And then you're going all the way down the numbers until you get to 0. So this one's a little more challenging because you're already counting how many flips you're doing, but at the same time, you're saying out loud, starting from the number 100, you're counting backwards in 7s, okay? You got a few minutes, off you go. I'll be quiet so you can think. Don't forget to keep the hands going as you're thinking. One more minute. Last 20 seconds. And rest. Okay, put your cushion away. How do we feel about that one? Do we not like that one? That one's pretty challenging because you're already thinking about counting the number of tosses you're doing for the cushion. But at the same time, you were also counting backwards. So it's a little bit more challenging, that one. Okay, we are now going to practice our handwriting for the last couple of minutes. So today we are using 2 regular lines. You can see that there's a line in the middle. So I got 1, 2, 2 rows as one giant row for my margin. So I'm going to try writing backwards again. let me just tip that down. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do it this way. Okay. So today you are going to write sentences, any sentences you can think of, but you're trying to get your letters to touch the top and the bottom margin of every single row. So every letter you write should be touching the top and the bottom margin of the margins you've drawn for yourself. So you're aiming for amplitude here of the writing. Don't let it get too small. You want it to touch the top and the bottom margins. And you can write whatever you like. You can write my name is XYZ, or you can write today is, Thursday, November 4th. You can write whatever you would like. Trying to touch the top and the bottom of the margins every time. So you can see here, here's my sentence. I'm touching the top and the bottom of the margin as I write. So you can see my letters touching top and bottom of the margin as I write. So you can write whatever you like. And of course, when you get better at this, you're welcome to make your writing faster and faster, as long as you're still touching the top and the bottom margins as you're writing. Hopefully I'm not offending anybody here by saying that I can't wait to decorate for Christmas, even though it's November. So remember, you're touching the top and the bottom margins. Don't let your writing get too small. Always aim to touch the top and the bottom margins. So keep going. You can see that as I'm writing, I'm touching the top and the bottom margins. And it doesn't matter what you're writing. You're just writing whatever sentences you like. You can add in exclamation marks. You can add in periods, as long as we're touching the top and the bottom margins of your worksheet here. So you can see I've just written some random sentences. I love Christmas and can't wait to decorate. Some flowers are the best flowers. Dogs are better than cats. Tomorrow is Friday. Don't eat yellow snow. Whatever you like to write, doesn't really matter, but you're aiming to touch the top and the bottom of the margins every time. You're welcome to make your writing faster once you get the hang of getting the margins and you're not starting to write in a line. Oops, I've drawn my C backwards now. Okay, we're going to stop here for a sec. Or actually, we aren't going to stop here because I've realized we've gone over time, but you can see here in my margins, I've written, I've gotten my letters to touch the top and the bottom margin, regardless of what I'm writing across the sheet here. So today our margin, we are using 2 rows for 1 giant row. You're welcome to progress this yourself, of course, because today's the last class. We don't have time to really progress, but you're welcome to now for next week, do 1 row. So you don't need to draw margins for yourself anymore. You can literally use the line sheet of paper and use the margin that they have for you to write within that margin. And then as you get better at this, you're welcome to use a blank piece of paper and try to write and keeping your letters sort of in one line as well. Or you can always put a blank piece of paper on top of a lined piece of paper so you can still see the lines underneath without having to really draw them. But these are good ways to practice. And whenever you find that your writing is now getting more into like a line, like a longer line, you want to then think again about the amplitude of the movement. So think of it like an amplitude exercise. Make the writing bigger than you think, because whatever you write is always going to turn out smaller than what you actually imagine. So if your writing is now starting to be like this, go for bigger writing again. Okay? Okay, well, that's it. Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for the Hand and Dexterity series. You are welcome to have a look on our YouTube channel where we have all the classes recorded there. You are welcome to practice any of these skills over and over again, and practice will make progress. So don't give up if you're finding some of these things really challenging. And I hope to see you for our next series. Thank you, everybody. Yes, dual tasking is very challenging. It is very tough to be keeping the motor task, whatever movement you're doing, active while you're thinking about the cognitive task as well. But it will get easier the more you practice. The dual tasking skill is quite important, especially in Parkinson's disease. So I would definitely recommend for you all to continue practicing. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you in our future webinars, I'm sure. If you got any questions, feel free to send me an email, or you can give me a call, whatever works for you, and we can chat a little further. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye.